Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got full rockin' my gun out there.
It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
Oh, this hard goddamn work being this good.
One more again, see what I take on your front set, I swear.
You ain't my daddy, are you?
There's gonna be consequences and repercussions.
What time is it?
Okay, welcome to the Don't Be Blasé podcast. We're coming to you live from the House of Pain, otherwise known as Snap Fitness in the Adelaide CBD. I'm your host, Speed Caruana, joined as always by my man, Steve Burrows.
It's me!
Steve.
It just came to my head.
Oh, Steve.
It just came to my head.
Well, before we get to that, we're going to get to our sponsor. Like to thank the guys at Larry and Lad. Go see the boys in Region Arcade. Get yourself an awesome coffee. There's some pretty sweet tunes. Give it a quick shout out to Jeremy. Hope you're enjoying your trip away in Japan with the wife. But for now, on with the show. Now, we were going to discuss sport. As we do on this is like a special topic. We love our sports. And we discussed chemistry. Because Steve was all chuffed about how well the Oklahoma City Thunder are doing with his boy Melo. But Steve's also brought in some show and tell. And he was very excited about this too. And then I kind of questioned why a grown man would be this excited about this certain item. And he's kind of given away the lead in his little intro. But Steve, what did you bring for us today, mate? Share it with the class.
I'd like to say that was not planned. That actually just popped. It was one of those genius moments, they pop in your head.
You're not good with the
Nah,
Steve.
no, I actually kind of regret it. No, I brought in, I was very excited because today is October 27th. And today's the release date of the latest Mario game called Super Mario Odyssey on the Nintendo Switch.
On the Nintendo Switch?
Yeah, I'm pretty Oh, you don't have one, obviously.
You might need to explain to me what a Nintendo Switch
The
is.
Nintendo Switch is the next generation gaming machine on the Nintendo, obviously.
Yeah.
So
is it like a cartridge disc? Is
well, they've actually gone back
portable?
to the cartridge. Yeah,
Oh, right,
it's like actually like a real small little looks like those SD cards from cameras. It's
Yeah.
very, very small.
Now this is how long it's been since I played a video game.
Yeah.
Do you have to blow on it before you?
I don't know. I don't actually. It's funny because I think I might have mentioned I've got a couple kids. I don't actually have time to play the video games,
Okay.
but I like buying them and putting them in the shelf
Yeah.
and going, one day I'm going to play you guys.
Yeah.
You should see the photo. I'll post a photo of my setup at home one day.
Okay.
I've got all my old consoles set up, and I stare at them lovingly. I don't get to play them, but I like to know that they're there.
So you're a collector.
Well, I'm not a collector. This is all my old stuff, and we built a new house recently, and I've always wanted to just,
Have a games room.
have a games room, and this
Okay.
is that, and my wife was nice enough to actually
Let you have it.
let me have the games room
Just
and
not let you play it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now,
so-
Steve, I know you do have a passion for it. And I know you enjoy it. Now, this is the important question that I have for friends that have children but enjoy video games as well.
Okay.
Do you let your kids play your video games, or are you scared they're going to mess it up?
No, it's funny. Like I've got one of most things of the Nintendos. I've got all the Nintendos from the original Nintendo, Super Nintendo, all the way 64, all of them.
Yeah.
GameCube. I certainly got the game. Of course, I got the GameCube.
So you're the one that bought it.
Yeah, that's right. I've actually got. I feel dirty that I have it. I've got a game called NBA Courtside, and Kobe's on the cover.
Mamba.
Yeah, I actually bought NBA 2K9, I think it was, and the Mamba was on the cover, and I actually returned it because the actual game was flawed. It was a piece of shit, but I couldn't have that ugly fucking Mamba face in my.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. I'm a bit filthy
Steve.
on that. Yeah.
So the one thing I found with the basketball things, like for a while there, it did seem like Kobe was on the cover of everything because he was sort of the hot player.
He was
for a while.
yeah,
He's
that's
the
right.
fashionable sort of player. You don't have to put Tim Duncan on the cover.
No,
of a video game. But I do love. I don't know if you're aware of this because I'm a big NFL fan.
Yeah.
And have you heard of the Madden curse?
I don't know. No, of course I know what the Madden series is. I don't know what the Madden curse is.
Okay, so there has been a long-running thing called the Madden curse, where the player that was on, like usually it's the exceptional player from the year before.
Okay.
As soon as the next season comes and there's a good player, they'll pick them out and they become the cover player for the next season.
Yeah.
Injured.
Oh,
or
wow.
have like the worst year they've ever had in
Yeah.
their life. And it was like documented from, I think it was like, because it was always John Madden on the cover.
Yeah.
Until I think maybe the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was just, I remember Dante Culpepper signed a huge contract on the cover, does his knee. Guy called Sean Alexander for the Seahawks, same thing. Like signed a
wow.
huge contract on the cover, did his knee.
Yeah, right.
Just
Wow.
like this long string of guys.
Yeah.
Everyone, they either had like a down year, like this. They even had one guy on there called Peyton Hillis. First time I think ever a Cleveland Brown had been on the cover of the game. After that, never heard of again. Like it was just one of those things that forever, if you were on the if you're on the cover of the Madden video game, that was pretty much doomed for your career.
Oh, wow. Well, no, I certainly haven't heard that. I do like the Madden games.
Yep.
I don't play them, but I watch from a distance, and they look fun. No, I do let Sophia play Mario on the Wii U.
Okay.
I got the Wii and I got the Wii U. The Wii U is good because it's got the little. It's like a handheld with a screen built in. So she loves. And she actually just watches the demos, you know.
Okay.
You pick the game and then they sort of play on its own for a little while. She just enjoys that.
There you go.
So, but I'm like, be very careful with that. Be on the carpet. On the carpet.
One
Sit down.
day, like, Dad might be able to play with us again.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly. So, but now I went out and bought a Switch.
Yeah.
I've not had a game of it yet. I bought another game with it when it first came out. I haven't played it at all.
Yeah.
And when my nephews and stuff come around, they're I want to. No, you're not allowed to touch the Switch.
Not allowed to touch the Switch.
Because I knew this Mario game's coming out soon.
Yeah.
And if it's not working by the time the Mario game,
Yeah.
their heads was going to roll.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's serious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm very excited because Mario games are like, it's the best franchise
In video games.
Probably in the history of video games. It's the, it's the character. It's everything about Mario.
Yeah.
That's probably what got me into video games. Of course, I play other video games.
Yeah.
If I have the opportunity, I play the Call of Duty. Shout out to my brother-in-law. He's one of the developers. Play Call of Duty if I got a chance. A bit of Zelda if I've got a chance.
Are you one of those guys that has like the online crew that plays Call of Duty?
In the old days, yeah. When I didn't have kids, we used to sort of like get together, mates of ours.
Yeah.
It's not like they were strangers. We got to
No,
to
because
play
that
with.
would be weird.
That's so nerdy.
Yeah.
That's like losers. No, we
but
laugh
if you're
at those
doing it
people.
with your friends.
Yeah, we do it with our mates.
You'll sit around same room or just online with little
sometimes
headsets?
not your headsets. Sometimes, but we do this. We play Formula One racing games.
Okay.
And we've got the steering wheels
Yeah.
and the pedals and
You guys are just the cool
once.
ones.
Well, we kind of watch Notting Hill. Man. We kind of watch Notting Hill.
You got one thing on me.
It's a good one. It's a good one. So we try to get together once or twice a year. We go to the brother-in-law's or Brett's office and we set up all of our Xboxes.
Yep.
And we race Formula One racing games. And we call it, look, we know it's very nerdy.
Yep.
We accept, we call it, the wives call us geeks for it.
There you go, that's right.
It's okay. I accept
I'm
it.
always of the theory that if you're going to be a nerd about something,
Own it, man.
own it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I love Notting Hill. I don't mind some romantic comedies. I'm going to own it.
Yeah.
I love Christmas. I'm the biggest Christmas nerd ever. And that gives me, people give me grief for that because I do own several ugly Christmas sweaters.
I've seen
and I
them,
will
they're
happily
dreadful.
wear them in public.
Yeah.
Because I'm a Christmas nerd.
Yeah.
I get my photo taken with Santa every year. And I love it.
You
And
sit on
I-
the lap? You sit on the lap?
Oh, I'm a bit
Bit
big,
weird now?
I'm a bit big to sit on the lap.
Yeah.
I think they usually see me coming in 100 kilos. They're like,
They
you
sit
can,
on your lap.
You can sit on the armrest.
Okay, yep.
What do you want for Christmas, young man?
Yeah.
We'll give it to you. Don't rob us. But I can understand that if you embrace the inner nerd,
Yeah.
go for it.
I'm happy with it. Look, and I'll tell you a funny story. I didn't aspire to be one, but because I have all my old consoles,
Yep.
for some reason in my head, I want to have all the boxes of those consoles as well.
Yeah.
I want to have like complete sets because growing up, you have very little regard for these things. You bust open the
Yeah,
boxes
yeah.
and they next day it's trash, which I totally regret. And then when I grew older, I tried to keep the boxes.
Yep.
And then Jonah's like, get that shit out of the
Yeah,
house.
exactly. It's taking up too
And
much space.
yeah, it's taking up space. And now I regret I'm not having it. But now I've got a room. I would like to get those boxes back. So I went out and I bought a second-hand or multi-hand original Nintendo
Yes.
because I just wanted the box.
Okay.
I was going to take the Nintendo, sell the Nintendo that it came with it. I
Yeah.
didn't care about the
You just
hardware.
wanted the box.
I wanted the box.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
A little bit weird, but I
Okay.
can understand. That was the original video game system me and my brother had. We weren't allowed to have a lot of video games. We didn't have Okay, when we were younger, we were the Pauls. So that's why I tease you now. But yeah, we had that. Like I think we got it as like a combined Christmas present. Yeah, we got the original Nintendo Entertainment System. We had 2 games.
I had 3. What games did you have?
We had first Mario,
Okay.
and Aussie Rules Footy.
That's what
Which
I
is
got in
the
this.
greatest AFL football game they've ever
Exactly.
made. I mean, they've tried to make AFL live. I've played it. It's okay.
It's average, man. Let's face it. It's no Madden.
You give it a crack. But the thing is, it's hard because AFL's a 360 game. It's hard to capture that in a video game platform.
Sure.
You know, and like everything else, it's always straight up, straight down.
Yep.
You know, that's the way most sports are played. But with our game, our beautiful, unique game, it's a little bit hard to capture in video game format. But that original, you know, with the out of bounds on the full, like it's a classic game. You have all the teams. You get to choose one color for the jersey.
Yeah.
You only had 2 buttons to go with. But
Dude.
I actually still, on the laptop that we record this, I have an emulator and I still play.
Do you really?
Yeah, I just love. I don't know. I love those old. I think it takes me back to my childhood because like I said, we didn't have a lot. Like we didn't have a lot as far as like if we wanted to play Super Nintendo or Genesis Mega Drive, we had to go to the video store. So if I'd get my pocket money and I'd save it up for a couple of weeks and go to the video store, you could hire the whole like console out for like $20 for the weekend, and then like $5 for a game, and that would be like my pocket money for like 2 weeks. And I'd sit at home and I would just play these games, non-stop, and then had to take it back to the shop. And so we never really had those games. So now, like I've got them downloaded on my emulator on my laptop.
Legally, I'm
legally, sure,
of course,
a couple of places.
You would have paid for them.
Yeah, upstanding citizen. And I just like playing the old. Even though there's the new Maddens and the new NBA 2Ks and stuff like that, I still play like Celtics versus Lakers in the NBA playoffs, and I play. My new one is College Football 96 on Sega Genesis, because that was the one game that was like really hard to get. And so there was like sort of like, I didn't get to play that one a whole lot. I always had the Madden. The Madden games are always sort of here, there, and everywhere. But to get the college football games was like, and like for me, like being a sports nerd and being the amazing athlete that I am and only playing athletic games, hence why I'm not a complete.
Oh no, you're not a nerd
complete
at all.
nerd like you guys, because I'm watching sports here.
You look down at us nerds.
That's right. Yeah, you guys playing your fantasy games.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy playing that. I still play it now, and it's one of those things. Like if I get a chance to play,
you showed me your collection the other day. That was cool, man.
Like I said, it's all the old video games, all the old sports games.
Yeah.
And you're trying to play them now, and like the nostalgia kind of wears off pretty quick when you realise. You can't do crossovers or anything in the NBA games, and you're just kind of limited to pass, take a shot. No, it's real. There's no dunking. Yeah, it's almost like a WNBA game. It's not a lot of fun.
No, and that's exactly right. And I had my friend Brett come over a few weeks ago. We fired up the 64 and played NBA Hang Time, which was like the successor of the NBA Jam series.
Yeah, I saw they tried to do the NBA Jam thing a couple of times.
We did a hang time thing, but I tell you, it kept us up to 3.
There you go.
Yeah, we were drinking, and it's, most things are fun when you're drinking anyway. We were able to stay up that late. But I'll tell you a quick funny story is though the nerdness had no boundaries in the old days. NBA Jam, remember NBA Jam?
Yeah,
obviously.
Like, I still have that. Actually, I actually do have a proper Super Nintendo at home. And that is one of the games that I have,
Yeah, well, the NBA Jam game, when it first came out, like Speed was saying, we didn't... I was still one of the paws back in those days. I've never kind of got out of the paws. But you could hire video games, and we would go to Movie Land, which is in Hollywood, and you'd hire the games. And NBA Jam was huge in the arcades.
Yep.
We'd go to arcades a lot. And then it came out on the consoles.
Yes.
And me and my friend Ryan, we wanted to play this NBA Jam. It first came out, we were like, it was incredibly popular. So we went down to Movie Land, and we called them up and said, look, is NBA Jam? Then they said, no, it's Hideout, but it will be returned today.
Yeah.
So leaving no chance, there was no chance that we're going to miss out on this. We headed down there at 11 a.m. And waited for the person to then come in after they've played the NBA Jam
to return it.
So then we could be the next in line to take the game. So anyway, it was 11 o'clock a.m. We strolled down there and we waited.
Yeah.
And we waited, and everyone who would walk through the door would keep. Oh, look at what's in the hands. What's in the hands? We were there till 1:30. We thought we'd probably better eat. So one of us went to Hollywood and grabbed something to eat.
Oh,
yeah.
You could take a chance.
We've been 2.5 hours in. we weren't gonna let this go.
I admire your dedication.
Yeah. So we went and got lunch and come back. We ate on pretty much on the doorstep of Movieland.
Yep.
They
They must have been loving you at this stage.
we were, the term loitering was thrown around a few times there. And then we were sitting there and eating our lunch, and 2 o'clock went, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. You know, quickly call up home just to check in with mum. Yeah, we're still good. We're just down at Movieland waiting.
Having to do it for a payphone too.
Payphone. What do you think? We had mobiles. We had he got 40 cents. Shit, we scrounged 40 cents.
We're old.
I remember in the old days, you had to put 20 cents in the trolleys.
Yeah.
To make sure that people would return the trolleys. So I'm pretty sure we gathered our phone money from there because we couldn't. It was $4 to hire the game. We were on a budget, and we were there till 6:30, and that's what time the return was.
Yeah.
So we're like, we have not seen anyone come in here, return this game. So we popped in there and said, "Yo,
can you call them?" You know why I know this happened? I wasn't even there for this story, and I haven't heard this story because I worked at a video store when I was 15 through to about 18, and this is not an uncommon story.
Right,
This has happened many times. But when the PlayStation first came out, and I worked at a video store in Final Fantasy VII or something, like one of those games, but that was the one that all the kids would want to play at that stage. And yeah, we did have some kids that would they didn't hang out at the doorstep, they weren't loitering, but they did come back pretty much every hour on the hour and to see if these people had returned their game. So is it back yet? No. Is it back yet? No. We've got your phone number. We'll call you when it's back. Okay, no worries. Come back 5 o'clock. Is it back yet? No.
Did we call you? No.
I had to call them at 8 o'clock, and I'm like, I've called the people. They said, they can't get back. They're going to return it tomorrow. This little kid just sounded heartbroken on the phone. I felt so bad.
I'm glad that we weren't the only ones going through that.
Oh, it's happened many a time, mate. It's not just you.
Well, we were there till 6:30. We'd been out. It's a full day of work, 7.5 hours with a lunch break. And
but please tell me your story has a happy ending.
Yeah, so we went in there at 6 and said, look, and this was what, and I think the people behind the counter must have been having a laugh. Yeah. Because they knew we were there. Yeah. We'd been in and out. We'd asked them, you know, not on the hour, but, you know, often enough to know that they knew we wanted that game. Yeah. The people who had the game must have seen us, scoped us out, put it in their right pocket rather than on the left-hand side, which we were. Went in there and re-hired the game.
Oh, my God.
And left without us knowing.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So we went without... So you know what we did?
What?
In a state of desperation, we hired a game called Sub-Zero Mythologies or something, which was a spin-off of Mortal Kombat.
I think I remember that game, yeah.
Dreadful game.
Terrible game.
I remember sitting there playing on it must have been the Super Nintendo, and we were filthy. Yeah. Yeah. Bad night. I just remember that story, man.
I always feel like reaching over, giving you a hug.
Man.
You know, I can understand the heartbreak in that.
But that story comes out once in a while.
Yeah, that's a good story.
It's a hilarious story that we spend that time and to come out with nothing.
As I said, it's not uncommon. I dealt with it several times when I worked there.
Oh, wow.
And it's not just you, mate. It's not you. It happened to everyone. It's happened to the best of us. You're okay, mate. The one thing I did love about NBA Jam is because you know how much I love competition.
Yeah.
Loyalty to a team. And above all, you know how much I love pettiness. So,
pettiness.
I love me some Tom Petty.
Yeah.
But rest in peace. But I do enjoy the fact that the guys that created the game are from Detroit.
Oh, okay.
And hardcore Detroit Pistons fans.
Okay.
So if you get the original version, like the arcade version, and you're playing on the arcade, if you are using the Detroit Pistons
you don't lose,
and you're playing the Chicago Bulls,
okay,
you will win every time.
Yeah, that's amazing.
There's like a code typed into the game that if you're using the Bulls and you play the Pistons, in the last 2 minutes you would pretty much miss nearly every shot.
Catch-up mode happens.
No, not even catch-up mode. It just drops the Bulls, the code in the system of the game drops the Bulls shooting percentage down to like 10%.
I've never heard that.
In the last 2 minutes, if they're playing the Pistons. I think that's great. I think that's just that's taking advantage of your somewhat quote unquote power.
Yeah, no, that's an abuse of power.
That's a great abuse of power because I hate the Chicago Bulls.
Well, the NBA Jam game, I think they were made by a group called Midway or something. They also brought a game called NFL Blitz. Did you ever play NFL Blitz? I did
play NFL Blitz, but I don't know. I'm very much other than I like the NBA Jam format. Because I like the old school one. Remember the Arch Rivals game?
Oh, yeah. That was the original 2-on-2.
Yeah, it was sort of, the 2-on-2, but you could run through the court and punch people. It was a good basketball game. I enjoyed that. Yeah. And then I enjoyed the next progression into NBA Jam. Yeah. I always liked Madden. And I like the college football games, and I like that system. So then the sort of arcadey sort of style of football, I didn't really get into. But I did enjoy it because 2-on-2 basketball is a little bit more common than just playing like 5-on-5 football with like, game breakers and that sort of stuff. I didn't enjoy that one as much.
Oh, so I only played it for a very short period of time when we went to America.
Yeah.
And there was an arcade machine in the laundromat.
Yep.
And we would play, what do you do?
Yeah.
You're waiting a half hour, 45 minutes for your...
You close the right. Yeah.
Exactly. And you put a whole shitload of quarters in the NFL. That game was amazing. It was very fun.
But speaking of video games can bring back some good memories, and it can also bring back some bad memories as of your 7-hour work day at Newfoundland to come up with Buckley's. But back to your guy, your man,
Mario.
your character.
Wow, we went right around.
Oh, we went right around.
Wow.
Nothing goes in a straight line on this show,
No.
mate, you know this. But to get back to, this is one of my stories to go with Mario. This is why, because Steve has the theory that Mario is the greatest video game character of all time.
Yeah, he's like, of course, he's like the whole character. He's very iconic.
Very iconic, yeah.
He brought the video game out of obscurity to mainstream.
Yeah. Well, I prefer his work in the kart form. And only Mario Kart on Super Nintendo.
Mario Kart.
I don't like all the fancy ones. I'm very much a straight line.
Purist.
Dot matrix.
Almost.
Yeah, not a purist. I'm
a purist.
You
hear that, folks? He's a bigger nerd as the rest of us.
No, the whole thing is, I'm very much of the theory. It's much like the video games like your Call of Duty's, GoldenEye, sort of like your shooter games.
Yep.
I have the same theory on that I have with skateboarding.
Okay.
Which is, I can't do it, so therefore it's fucking shit.
Yeah,
like, I can't do it, it's like, these games are rubbish.
I'll tell you a BMX story one day.
Only nerds can play these games. Only dickheads skateboard, only because the first time I stepped on a skateboard, slipped up, fell on my ass. It was embarrassing. So ever since then, I'm like, this is shit.
Remind me to tell you about the BMX story another time.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you my BMX career.
But I'll tell you my Mario story, because you'll enjoy this, because it may hit close to home. So me and my brother had the original Nintendo and the original Mario. Yeah. And because my brother's a bit older than me, he always got first go. He's always player one. I'm never getting player one because I'm the younger brother. It's just bullshit. So my brother, and when you're in the first Mario and you know all the warps.
Yeah, you jump up the top.
Jump up the top, you run up the top, you knew where it was, and you could get to like level 8.
Yeah, very quick.
Within like 10 minutes, and then you'd get to that pirate ship at the end of it. And then you may have lost your first life.
Right.
So that was my brother. So I'm sitting there waiting for my turn because I'm Luigi all the fucking time. So you sit there and, you're waiting. He's warping through this one, waiting for that to load. Okay, warping to the next one. Okay, he's got to the pirate ship. Oh, he ran into a cannibal. All right, here we go. Space time to shine. Yep. Get Luigi player 2. Run into that first little fucking across the screen. And I'm dead. And then it's like Dennis's turn again. I'm like, no, it's not fair. And he's like, well, man, like you died. I'm like, no. Like then you straight away, you don't understand his younger brother. Mom, he's not letting me play. Which then led to Mum coming in the room, turning it off. That's it, yes.
Wow,
that's it. Go across the road, play in the park, and then across the road, my brother's like, "You fucking ruined it, man."
I feel like I need to give you a hug now.
Once again, if I'm shit at something, I'm going to ruin it for everyone.
Wow, yeah. You killed my love of wrestling as well from that. Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, that's hilarious, and that I can totally relate to that.
Yeah. Well, see, I'll give you the point of Mario would be the greatest sort of franchise. Other than for me, the Madden series and then the NBA. I was an NBA Live guy, and then I enjoyed the whole first one, the NBA Live 95, because I liked that it rhymed.
So good, yeah.
And then it was like NBA Live 96. I'm like, it's kind of not as good.
That doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
No.
And then that series kind of went away, and then the 2Ks came in.
The 2Ks, yes.
And then my issue is with video games. I can't play them. Because it's not because I'm not good at them. Like the sports games, I'm quite good at, except for FIFA. That's just, if you're one of those guys that's really good at FIFA, fuck you, because I suck at FIFA and I just want to take pings of goals from outside the box and I can't, and then I lose 8-0 and then I get really mad. So I don't want to play FIFA with you. Stop asking me. But I will play Madden and flog everyone and then rub it in their face and be a real dick about it because that's the kind of guy I am. But I was really hooked on the Grand Theft Auto series.
Oh, I was going to say that. Yes,
they
GTA is unbelievable.
I have called in sick for work that many times to play GTA. And the problem is these career modes and the manager modes in the sports games, I become obsessed with them.
Yeah.
So I cannot, it's not that I don't play them because I think they're nerdy and I think they're cool and I love them. I just don't play them because I know I will be stuck in front of that TV until 4 a.m. and I haven't showered for 3 days and look at myself. You really should go outside, you know what I mean? Because, and then you go outside for like an hour and then all you're thinking about is playing the video game again. I'm like, this needs to stop.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I don't play them anymore. I try to avoid them.
Yeah.
But, you know.
The GTA series were fantastic.
Oh, they're amazing. I even enjoyed the original ones.
The top view.
Yeah, they're top view and you drive around, you just spray the Uzi outside of the car.
That's right, man. That was a great game.
It's the weirdest thing. And the other thing is, when they brought out the Grand Theft Auto 3, the first one was sort of the 3D one. I played it that much, and I played it, and I was so intently staring at it.
Yeah.
Then when I got in my car and started driving around, I'm like, oh shit, I've got to snap back to reality here because I'm not in the game anymore. And I just thinking, I'm just going to overtake this car. Just overtake this car on the wrong side of the road.
Up on the curb.
I'm like, why aren't they punching random strangers still in their cars? But like I said, I love these games and I do get obsessed with them. So I think that's part of the reason why. Like my favourite system is the 64 or the Sega Genesis because those games, that's one reason why I think I stick to the old games. Yeah. Because they're a bit repetitive. Yeah. They're old, there's not a whole lot to them. So
play a game or two and then you're
play
out.
A game, exactly. And I'm out because I know I've got addictive personality. I'm gonna sit there and play them all day.
Well, I bought those NES Mini and the SNES Mini. Yeah. And I pulled it out the other day. They don't. I bought them for the like I said, I bought it for the sake of buying it because it's a bit of nostalgia. Yeah. My the wife's brother was over and I said, let's pull this out. We played a Street Fighter 2. Yep. Played half a dozen fights. I'm like, this is shit. Yeah. What's next? And we got Mario Kart and he was lousy at it, so I had to turn that off. And then before okay, this is too much. Yeah, that's the thing. Like the games are fun and you get the nostalgia kick. Yeah. And once the nostalgia kick goes, and you just kind of like Yeah. Unless you've got a drinking game or something involved, maybe you can do something. Now this is one thing that Steve does. Now disclaimer: this may be borderline illegal, but one of the greatest things I've ever heard with a video game is comes from young Steve. Steve used to run these club nights at sporting venues where they would bet on sports games on Super Nintendo, like on your Xbox. PlayStation, Xbox. That sort of thing. If you play a sports game and you have to choose which controller takes the team, they would just keep the controls in the middle, computer versus computer, and then bet on the outcomes of those events because apparently it's not guaranteed the best team's going to win on those games. It's totally random. And look, when I say bet, we bet. Fake money. It was called Blazbucks. Blazbucks. Yeah. How much? What can you buy with Blazbucks? Not a lot. Currency is plummeted. You can't do much with it. Not quite up the stage of Bitcoin. No. That's right. Look, I'm not going to give away all my secrets because it's a great night out, and I still like doing them from time to time. But what we did, they were called Vegas nights. Yep. And clubs would hire us, and we'd bring down all our TVs and the Xboxes and bits and pieces, and we'd set up these things, and we do like it's like the fantasy stuff. Yeah. Like remember Rocky Balboa? Yeah. Would Rocky be able to beat the champ? Yeah. So we would do that. We'd do Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls of '95, and we'd play them against, at that time, because there was no Golden State really hadn't blown up. Yeah. We'd play them against LeBron in Miami or Kobe and the Lakers or whatever. And what was amazing? If we tell you now, it probably doesn't sell it well enough because it's the emotion that goes into it. Because people have always wondered who would win like a Jordan at 34 against a LeBron at 30. Yeah. Who really is the best? It's emotionally driven. Yeah. And they bet their Blazbucks on what they want to happen, not necessarily what may happen. Yeah. And the games are such a good simulation that it comes out with a decent result. So I tell you what, we did one at Footy Club, and it was a dream team versus the 2012 Olympic team, which I'm sure me and Speed would love to have a chat about one day about who would win. And one guy had put his last 5 Blazbucks on the game going into overtime. There we go. And it was amazing. Magic Johnson hit a 3 with about 9 seconds to go. Tie the score up. And you might laugh at this, saying this is ridiculous, but there was about 45 grown-ass men watching this video, and they went up. It went ballistic. It was at the end of the night, so it was about 12. It was the last game of the whole night. Yeah. So everyone's all in on their Blazbucks. Everyone was all in on their Blazbucks, and let me tell you, It was, and Speed, and I want Speed to come to it because one, he loves his team sports.
I do love my team sports.
Two, he doesn't mind a bit of a dibble dabble on the outcome.
I don't mind a punt.
Yeah, don't mind a punt. And three, it's just.
I'm also very passionate about whatever I'm invested in. If I'm going for a team, it doesn't matter if it's the first time I've watched them play or the 1,000th time, I'm going to be all in.
He's all in. He loves, exactly. The Gold Coast Sun story. He was in on that. Poor old Paddy. But yeah, let me tell you, it's the most fun night. And we do it, and yeah. That's our story. Those sports simulation games are unbelievable. The NBA 2K series in particular.
Oh, I'm going to give them a go. I'm definitely in. So if you guys want to, you might hit us up on Facebook if you want us to come to your sporting event.
That's a great idea.
We can do that. We can come and facilitate this because I need to see one of these in person.
Sponsored
I've heard the
now by
stories.
Blaz Entertainment.
Blaz Entertainment. You can get your Blaz. Who's the richest man in Blaz bucks? Is it you or is there someone? Is it Mikey? He seems like the kind of guy who's lucky and win a lot of.
Yeah, well, I've never actually. It's funny thing. I've never actually been able to participate myself.
Okay.
I'm always the house.
Oh, okay, you're the house. Okay, so then definitely you have the most blase bucks.
Yeah, I do.
See, because I just enjoy that you create something and then I would enjoy it if you created something you were no good at it. Because this is just off topic. One of my favourite things are the ESPN 30 for 30s. I think I've told you this story about the guy who invented fantasy sports.
Okay.
So he invented fantasy baseball with his friends. They called it Rotisserie League Baseball because they used to eat at a restaurant called the Rotisserie.
Okay.
And so it became a thing. They used to have to try to fax each other the scores, to check the newspaper for the stats, and that's how they developed the scoring system.
Oh, right, wow.
And it started with, it was...
Is this the start of all fantasy sports?
All fantasy sports. So
Amazing.
It was only on American League Baseball, not even National League, just American League Baseball. And
what side's that? Who plays in that?
It's sort of like...
what teams?
The Yankees and that sort of stuff. Yeah. So it's not necessarily like just based on East and West.
Yep.
There's two different leagues. It's very hard if you don't know baseball. It's complicated to explain. But it's not just based on geography. They started this league and they had their first draft and this and that and trades and the first guy. Now the guy who invented it, he didn't win the first league. And then they sold a book, based on the story of the thing, and it became like a popular thing, and it sort of, got a bit of buzz around it. Now they got approached to sell it, didn't sell it. Then one company went, well, hang on a tick, if we change the name from Rotisserie League to Fantasy League, you guys haven't patented it, have you? And they're like, no. It's now a $3 billion industry. These guys made nothing from it. And on top of that, this happened in the 80s. The guy that invented it plays 2 or 3 baseball leagues a year. Every year that it's been around, never won.
Oh, no.
So this is like one of those great sporting tragedy, heartbreak stories that I just, you sort of love because it's just like, that's heartbreaking, isn't it? Yeah, so the 30 for 30 is called Silly Little Game. It's a great little story about the guys that invented fantasy baseball. It's a good watch. I recommend you guys to watch it.
Oh, shit.
But we're going to segue, guys, because Steve's got an important question for me. He's been asking me for the last couple of weeks.
What do we summarise, by the way? What's our summary? Do we have a summary? We don't really have a summary.
We don't need a summary. We both agreed, and we're agreeing on too much today. And I think we're going to agree on some other things here. Because we agreed that the best systems were your 16-bit ones, your Super Nintendos, your Sega Genesis, and we agreed that Mario's the best character.
I think so.
I'll give you that one.
Okay.
But then Steve's come up with another question, which I think we're going to agree on, and we want to see what you guys think. We're discussing INXS, the band.
Yeah.
Steve, hit me with your question about INXS.
Well, I just saw on that TV a couple of weeks ago the documentary about Michael Hutchence.
Yeah.
And he's one of Australia's very few...
iconic
rock stars. Yeah. That's right. Well, obviously we got some big bands. Akadaka's huge.
Yeah.
Chisel, shoot. There's some good bands out there.
Daryl Braithwaite.
Yeah, the Horses.
Now that's one thing. Sorry to cut you off, Steve.
Okay.
If anyone, I could Google it, but it's not as much fun unless someone tells me the story. When did the whole everyone singing the Horses start?
You mean like
when did that become like the song? That when you played it in a pub. Because I remember one time we had a couple of wrestlers from the States come down and do a show. And we took them out for a drink at a local bar, and then we're having a chat, and all of a sudden the Horses come on, and the whole bar starts singing it. And one of the American dudes turns to me and goes, "Speed, what the fuck is going on?" And I'm just trying to think. I don't remember the exact moment because it couldn't have been since the song came out. It came out early 90s and stuff like that.
Definitely.
But it's always been that. that's the song that everyone loves and everyone sings.
Yeah.
Much
That
like
one, John Farnham, You're the Voice.
But that's not as it's not as strong.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
everyone,
wow.
I mean, everyone loves it, but
Yeah.
everyone just knows the chorus
You're
for the voice.
Yeah,
you know?
okay.
But everyone seems to know every word to the horses.
I mean, isn't it funny time the early 90s when you could have these middle-aged men who are pop stars?
Yeah.
Could that happen these days?
Yeah.
Does that happen these days?
It could do.
I guess there are middle. I mean, like you look at the rappers. There's some 40-year-old Jay-Z and stuff. But those guys in the old days, in the 90s, they actually dressed like dads and shit. Like they were brave when would wear a hypercolor t-shirt and like on the beach
and trying to be cool. Like he's like that dorky dad. Like, hey kids, what are you doing? Hey, let's sing about some horses. It's like, fuck off, Daryl. Anyway, I digress. Back from that, but back to INXS. So we were saying that there's not a whole lot of Australian rock stars. So the whole country seems to have a massive boner for Michael Hutchence.
and INXS in general speaking. Yeah, definitely. And I was wondering that my question I posed to Spee is, if they weren't Australian, would we care? If let's say they were an English band, would they get the hype that they do now? Would Port Adelaide have, would they sing the song? I want to know. I just want to know. I don't have an opinion. It's only because Australians, when we spoke about that a few weeks ago or whenever it was, we said, like, we'll claim it in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
If they're successful, we're claiming them. So we love, if we talk to an American or, I remember going back to the World Cup quickly, when we played Brazil in the World Cup and Australian reporters got a hold of Ronaldo, who at the time was the best, and they go, what do you think about Harry Q and Viduka? Because they were our big guys, and Ronaldo went, I do not know who Viduka, because we put them on such a pedestal, but in Ronaldo's world, they're just two other players who played for Leeds and Liverpool. He didn't know who the fuck they were. Yeah. So, INXS, if they weren't Australian, would they be who they are today in Australia?
Well, I just think they came, I don't know, they were very successful at a very odd time for Australia. I mean, like, that was sort of, I always see the 80s, 70s, 80s as being sort of peak Australia years where we really developed our own sort of characteristic. And
like
that sort
the
of
Dundee, Crocodile Dundee?
Yeah. That sort of, we developed our culture a lot in that time, and they just came up in that time. So I think they just became somewhat embedded in the culture of Australia. Like, because at the same time, there's another band that is huge, and this is what I was going to surprise you with.
Oh, here we
and
go.
This is the reason why I think maybe it's not just the fact that, that they're Australian, that everyone loves them. I think they just came up at the right time.
Okay.
Because the other one that Australians, especially like people around my mum's age, are obsessed with, and I've never understood it. And because I like old music, don't get me wrong. Like, I love the Beatles.
You're building this up,
I'm building this up because it's one that I just don't get. Because like I said, I love my old music.
Okay.
Anything old, before my time, I'm usually a big fan. But I've never understood the obsession in Australia with fucking ABBA.
ABBA? I know, but what are they, Swedish or something?
Yes.
No, they're not Australian, though.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But they're huge in Australia. Like, ABBA is huge in Australia, and they're not Australian. So that's why I think maybe the INXS thing, it's more so the time they came out, that was when they just sort of burst on the scene at the right time. They were the biggest band in that era, and that's what made them really popular. That's why, ABBA was, the decade before, they were the big band. So I think Australia just likes to latch onto one band.
You think?
And I mean, of course, the Australian thing helps, and we tie that in. But it's one of those things where I just think it's mostly the fact that they just came through at the right time. The timing, I think, is more important than the fact that they're Australian.
I thought you said we were going to agree on this one. Because you got to counterpoint to the
I'm not counterpointing. I'm just giving you I just think, that's my theory. I mean, like I said, I do think they're a little bit overrated.
Yeah.
And I did get a good chuckle out of the documentary. It was, the last thoughts of Michael Hutchence before he died. I'm like, well, what was his last thoughts? Geez, this belt's a bit tight. But I don't get the upset. I think it's because they were, like Australians loved Queen as well. You know what I mean? Like, and Freddie was the big rock star, and then he died. So it was like, oh, hang on a tick, maybe we've got a chance to be the big rock band, because we were pretty big at the time. INXS was big at the time, but then also our lead singer decided to suffer from autoerotic asphyxiation.
Oh, wow.
Otherwise known as a chokey wank. And, passed on. And then it was sort of like one of those, I think they're almost like one of those great what-ifs.
Okay.
In Australian culture that, could they have been Queen? Could they have been ABBA? Could they have been something bigger than what they were? And Australians always kind of had that what-if, and we sort of fantasize about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Fair point. Fair point. You shit all over my point. I don't know.
That's what I'm here for, Steve.
Yeah,
You know, we don't agree on anything.
No, you kind of built me up there. Like,
I did.
hey, we're going to be on the same page.
Yeah, well, I thought we might be on. I thought you might agree and see my point and
Well,
come
I
around
agree,
to my way of thinking,
but it just shit on my point.
and just accept that I'm right.
Yeah, okay.
I do get tired of being right, Steve. Hot dog is a sandwich. But
okay.
but this is one thing we will segue into. So we've completely trashed that argument.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, mate. But and I've dropped another bombshell. But
that belt thing was.
hey, facts don't matter on the show. Yeah, facts don't matter on the show. But facts are facts. And there's only two people I know that have died from that situation that are famous, and it's him and Dave Carradine. And
did David Carradine die like that?
yeah, same way.
Kung Fu?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, Bill from Kill Bill.
Yeah.
Turns out doesn't need the 5-finger death touch, just needs some porn in a hotel room and a belt, and that'll do
That's
the job.
news to me.
Yeah, so
I did not even know
could have
he's
saved
dead.
Uma Thurman a lot of time. She should have just sent him some, just hang that around and start having
I
a
didn't know
tug.
that.
Yeah, well, apparently that's the way people like to go these days. But we're gonna raise the level of this. It's getting a bit lowbrow. We're gonna raise the level. We're gonna do one of our top threes. Now, this is the one time in history of this program that this is going to be a 100% agreement on top three. This is just like a monumental time, people. You need to understand. So we need you to send in your top three because this is going to be our top three. And I think that, knowing our 23 listeners now. Up to 23.
Are you making up these numbers? Or
No, legitimately,
Wow.
we're getting more people every week.
Okay.
Legitimately, I mean,
People aren't stopping me in the street yet and saying, hey, are you him?
exactly. Only 23 people, Steve.
Yeah, okay.
And a few of them are overseas, so there's not too many locals.
Okay, fair
They're
enough.
People in Adelaide, we claim that we
I've
love
got
Adelaide.
friends who don't even know how to do
And
this.
Adelaide love us, but we're nobody's here. But the top three Australian films of all time. Now, if you're not from Australia and you're listening in overseas, I recommend going to see these three because they are just the greatest, I don't know, especially the number one film. But the other two are just good Australian films, and you might enjoy them because they're sort of action-y. But the last one is just the most quintessential Australian film of all time. But
definitely.
our top three. Steve, I'll let you go from the first one.
Yeah, definitely. We'll leave that. I know the one that you're referring to is number one because it's so good. The first one is based on, or loosely based on the life of Mark Chopper Reid.
Yep.
And it's called Chopper. And it was portrayed by, at that time it was comedian Eric Bana.
Yep. Bulked up too. Had to put on a lot of weight for the role.
He did, especially the older version of Chopper.
Yeah, well, so the thing is, like, a lot of people know Eric Bana from, I don't know, he's in the Hulk and he's done a lot of
Black Hawk
serious
Down.
movies, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
and
funny
that's how
people.
a lot of American people may know him. But for Australians, he was on like a sketch comedy show.
Was it Fast Forward? Full
Yeah,
Frontal?
and he did like an impersonation of one of our like current affair hosts and stuff like
Ray
that.
Martin.
Yeah, Ray Martin, like an Australian icon, had a weird haircut, and that's how a lot of us know him. And then for all of a sudden, him to do this sort of real dramatic acting role was just like, wow, this is incredible. And Mark Chopper Reid is sort of like the modern day Ned Kelly.
Right.
So the Australians are convicts element, and we've always had that sort of still that almost ingrained spirit of, he's not a bad guy, like even if they are a criminal, they're
It's just hard on his luck or
yeah,
something.
yeah. That wasn't his fault that he shot 5 people. They weren't good people anyway. So we've always had that sort of culture. And like Ned Kelly was a bank robber, and he's sort of the most famous.
Oh no, he's almost revered.
Yeah, he's like the Australian. Like if you're in, when I was in Europe, I was living in Germany. You go to all these historic sites that you learn about in school, and I saw the balcony where Hitler gave his last speech in Austria.
Okay, yep.
And that's real history. If you want the equivalent of that in Australia, you're going to go to Glenrowan, where you'd see Ned Kelly's last stand.
Right.
So it's not really on the same par. That's about as good as our sort of history and culture get. We're still a young country. But so we've always had that love of the sort of the lovable bad guy, and Chopper is one of those characters. Like, the guy was that way.
The dude went on tour.
Oh yeah,
For years.
He did almost like a stand-up comedy tour where he
Yeah.
would just walk around and just tell his stories of his life in the underworld.
Yep.
And it's a great movie. It's very grim. There's some bits like he's almost like the anti-hero. There's scenes where you go, oh,
Bit
I hate that
confronting.
guy. Yeah, he's a shit bloke. But then there's other times where you'll see him and you'll go, wow, this guy's incredible.
That's
like
right.
he's just a great character. And a side note, the real Neville Bartos,
No, Neville Bartos.
surprisingly not really named Neville Bartos, but I did actually meet him.
Oh,
he is a real person, and
Yeah.
he lives in Greece. And when I lived in Greece, I met him, and I got told by my friend that knew him, don't mention the movie because he's not a big fan of it. And if you've seen the movie, you'd understand why, because he
Yeah.
comes off looking like a bit of a dick. But
What?
I met the real guy, and nice guy. But
Yeah.
probably didn't bring up the movie in front of him.
That's
you know?
amazing.
But he was pretty rapt to meet me because I had an Australian accent.
Ah, nice.
But we're going to move on from there to our next movie,
Yep.
number 2 in the list of top 3 Australian films. Once again, follows the same principle. Who doesn't love a bad guy that does the right thing every now and then? And who also doesn't love one of our greatest acting exports ever, who unfortunately passed away,
Yeah.
in Heath Ledger.
And who doesn't love a great Australian rock song going at the end?
Oh, yeah. It's a great
Powderfinger.
Yeah, and we're talking about Two Hands.
Yeah.
Two Hands is like, almost like not a budget, but a smaller budget Australian film.
All Australian films are probably
Pretty low
low
budget, let's be honest. But but this one is incredible. It's another sort of, hard luck story. A young kid, he sort of gets involved with some, aren't bad people, but, he's, as it even says about another character in the show, the bad guy, Pando, played by Brian Brown. He's like, oh, no, Pando's a good guy. He's like, he's trying to kill you. Nah, he's all right.
Yeah, yeah.
Even when people are at their worst in Australia, we still seem to find a good side in them. We're just that way, just that underdog spirit. And so
Yeah.
that movie there, like I said, just for the late, great Heath Ledger, and the greatest, I'm not going to spoil it, but the greatest bank robbery scene in the history of film.
Yeah.
Not just Australian film, history of film. It's the greatest bank robbery scene. You will love it. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
And number 1, Steve, I'll let you take this
Well,
one. The greatest Australian film.
What about a couple? Is there any honourable mentions? Wolf Creek was reasonable.
Wolf Creek was, very good for a horror film.
Yeah.
For what was essentially a very, very low budget horror film.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was so real and hit so
Yeah.
close to home.
And speaking of real, and one that was really leaves you kind of squirming and feeling a bit odd is Snowtown.
Snowtown, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's not so...
that's so close to home for us.
like literally.
Like
literally 2 hours down the road. Yeah.
Oh, for Speed maybe. For me, like a lot of that happened in Salisbury North, and
Oh,
that's
right.
not far.
Yeah. No, so those
Hello,
ones,
yeah.
yeah, those.
Ooh.
And, you can run down. There's a few Australian films that, you probably don't want to watch more than once.
Yeah.
But they're rough, Romper Stomper with Russell
Oh,
Crowe.
yeah, that was...
Yeah.
That's right, I forgot about that one.
Yeah,
That's
that
hardcore.
one's grim, but yeah, I mean, there's been great Australian actors, great
Yeah.
Australian directors and stuff like that, but yeah, as
BMX
far as
Bandits.
with Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman.
We claimed her until she got a bit
Yeah.
weird, and we're like, oh, well, she was born in America.
Yeah,
Same way with
right.
Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe was like, he's Aussie Russ until he started
Yeah.
throwing phones
The
at
New
people.
Zealand,
And we're like, yeah, he was born in New Zealand. He's not really Australian. As soon as you guys turn weird, we will throw you away
Throw
pretty
under the
quick.
bus.
But if you're quality and talented, hey, welcome to Australia.
And talking about quality and talented, Eric Bana features again in this.
In the number 1 Australian
In the
film of
number
all
one.
time,
And that's The Castle.
The Castle.
That is...
It's number 1, so far ahead of the rest. It's about a family of the Paws.
The Family of the Paws, yes. Very relatable.
That live near the Melbourne airport, and their house is going to be compulsorily acquired by the government so they can build a bigger airport.
Yes.
And they contest it. Because a
can
man's
test it.
home is his castle,
Oh,
and you can't take away a man's home. It's because it's the vibe. It's the constitution.
Yeah.
It's just... And he hires the world's worst lawyer to help him out, who... There's a reason why my brother got the nickname Denudo, because his name's Dennis Denudo, and he's one of the greatest characters in, I think, Australian film history, just with the complaining about his photocopier constantly jamming.
you're kind of like Lionel Hutz, I guess,
He is basically the Australian Lionel Hutz, to be honest. That's actually a very, very good comparison there.
Yeah.
But, the dad of the family, he's just wrapped with whatever mum makes for
Oh, that's
dinner.
what I love. I love the chemistry, the family chemistry. What is it? What do you call this, love?
Yeah.
Was it like a roast or
It's
something?
rissoles. Everyone makes rissoles, Dale.
Oh,
what's
he's
for
so
dessert?
happy.
Oh, ice cream? Yeah. But what have
Yeah.
you done with it? I scooped it out the punnet. It's just a brilliant.
It is.
It's really feel good. You feel for this family, and they're not wealthy. They don't have much, but what they have, they take pride in.
They do.
And like a man has fake chimney on his house because it adds charm.
Yeah.
And that's why you do it. And
Like I had a little car, a red trade, and I had a bonnet scoop.
exactly.
But there was actually nothing gone through the fucking thing.
But it added charm. It added a bit of charm,
I went down High Street one time. I remember I had the windows down, and someone said something, and I was like, "Whoop, wind the windows up."
Meanwhile, your window thing's actually broken. You're winding it up with some sort of wrench you've got attached to the... that's a good time. So if anyone hasn't seen it, if you're listening in Australia, you definitely have seen it. If you haven't,
You're
life out.
un-Australian.
Yeah. Go give yourself the Michael Hutchins. But but if you're overseas, guys, and you're listening to this, you haven't watched The Castle. It's amazing. We could literally sit here and do an entire episode quoting great lines from it.
Yeah.
But we won't because that would suck. So that's going to be our show for today, guys. Remember to get in your votes on whether INXS is overrated or whether Mario is the greatest thing of all time. I've got a feeling we're not going to get much disagreement there.
No.
And for everyone that doesn't think a hot dog is a sandwich, you guys just need to open your mind. Think outside the square. I just don't want to accept that I may have lost an argument on the show.
Think outside the square. Interesting choice of words.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're running out of time here, but I'm just going to throw one more at you because I had one person hit me with. Hey, did you ask Steve about this? And I went, no. If you get a loaf of bread that's sort of round shaped and you cut it into slices and make a sandwich, is that still a sandwich? Because you said it had to be square bread.
It is, but
is this?
It doesn't have to be fully 90-degree angle square
bread.
It could be.
If you go back and listen to the tape, I know facts don't matter, but the facts state you said square bread.
Yeah, but square. I probably should have said square-ish bread. Like if it's a rhomboid-ish, then that's still.
It just has to be
sausage
sliced bread.
I think. Look,
even though a roll has been sliced.
That's a great question, but let's stop dancing around it. We all know that fucking hot dogs are not a sandwich, all right?
Steve, is this? Are you stumbling here?
That's a great question.
And I think you should answer this right now.
Well, it's hard to answer because it's a bit technical.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.